Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just simply delighted to be back with you tonight to give you another episode in the Beloving Imaginer. And tonight our subject is Poe in Russia, and the subtitle is The Bells, because that's how Poe entered into Russia through his poem, The Bells. Now, that's, of course, he was hugely popular in Russia, as he is all over the world for his amazing short stories. But he also experimented with poetry, and one of his most curious experimental flights is a little thing called The Bells. Let me give you the opening of it and see what you think. They teach this in grade school. I don't know if that's still done, but I enjoyed it back in the 4th or 5th or 6th grade. It's quite jolly. And basically, let me explain to you what goes on. It's a 4-part poem, and it was Poe's inspired idea to talk about the 4 stages in a human being's life and to correlate them with the 4 kinds of bells you'd be likely to hear at their respective stages. Childhood, jingle bells. Adolescence and adulthood, wedding bells. Various conflicts and problems in life, fire alarm bells, and final farewell, funeral bells. Interesting concept, huh? It really appealed to the translator in Russia, as we'll see in a moment. Here's a sample of what Poe wrote in Taken. This is simply part 1. Ah, hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells, how they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme to the tintinnabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. It's an astonishing thing. Whether or not it attains greatness, it certainly triggered off something in the imagination of Konstantin Dmitrievich Balmont. You can say that Balmont, and that'll be very close, both of course, to the Russian and also to the French Balmont, from which it is derived. Now, what Balmont was doing, he was active between 1880 and 1920, a very productive career. He wanted to show the Russian writing community what could be done with experimental rhythms and a new repertoire of harmonies in sound. And he latched onto this, and let me tell you, the real subject of my presentation today is simply what is gained in translation. You hear a lot in ordinary conversational talk about what's lost in translation. Well, I'd like to make the point today that you can make major gains. You can have giant dividends. You can have a 10,000% profit return. I myself would suggest that that's exactly what happened when Balmont, the great symbolist poet, got a hold of Edgar Allan Poe's poem, The Bells. First of all, let me just give you an interesting little note. Poe called his poem The Bells, and neither of those words can be rendered in Russian because Russian doesn't have the word the, but more important, it doesn't have the word bells either. You can't talk about bells in Russian. You have to choose either big ones or little ones. If you're going to have jingle bells or wedding bells, these are kolokolchiki. If you're going to have alarm bells or funeral bells, these are kolokola. Therefore, Balmont's translation is called kolokolchiki y kolokola. And I call my English rendering of Balmont's Russian bells. Hear the sleigh bells rushing row, rushing row. They're the jingle bells we know, lightly swinging in their ringing sweet to hear with fevered glow, with a strumming and a humming, strange oblivion seems to grow. Oh, the ringing, gladly, proudly, as of children laughing loudly, in the crisp and chilly air they can happily declare, after straying disconnection. Comes the day of resurrection, and enchanting is the gladness of the sleeper free of care. Sleighs are speeding in a row, with their little bells aglow. Stars are hearkening to what the sleighs are saying, never slow. And the starry sparkles grow, while they're gleaming in their dreaming, and a steam aroma show, as they're twinkling in the blessing of a gentle, still caressing, with a ringing and a singing that oblivion only know. See what I'm talking about here when I say a 10,000% dividend? This is not Poe anymore, really, but I sure do like it. Do you know what I just want to tell you one more thing before I continue. Sergei Rachmaninoff, one of the great composers in world history, maybe you know his second piano concerto. It was the first LP I got as a boy. I deeply treasured it, and the Franz Liszt piano concerto was on the back. Rachmaninoff made this poem, this translation of Poe into Russian, he made it into the libretto for a choral symphony. The Bells, it's one of his supreme masterworks. And we sang it here in the Binghamton University chorus, and the conductor Bruce Borton asked me to make this translation, and it is published by Musica Russica in the Borton piano reduction of the symphonic score of the Bells. Now, part 2. Hear them, wedding greetings bold, songs of gold. Oh, the blessed and the tender tones, the tones through heaven rolled, through the peaceful air of night. Someone's eyes are gleaming bright. How they shine! From their wave of singing music they the lunar light divine. From the wonder-summoned cells, rich in legendary spells, rising, riding, then subsiding, flying foam with lights condign, quenched again, and high a line, glancing, chancing on a sign of the future, where serenity of soothing dreaming dwells, that the harmonies announcing of the charm of golden bells. Part 3. Listen! Fire alarum strong! Bronzen moaning, loud and long, tones tormenting, unrelenting, tell of hell in dreadful song. They appear to pray for aid. Cries through darkened sky have strayed, growing louder now and stronger every sound. Now the shorter, now the longer, higher. Shouts, a fright profound, and a terror so extreme, worse than any soul would dream. Every tone in fragment torn so there is nothing coming nigh. They can only clang and clang and clang, and cry and cry and cry. Only weep and hope entreat, groan of grief and of defeat, by the gloomy hugeness high, while the raging fire insane, horrid roaring will attain. Death portray. Out of window, roof, the fire, climbing higher, 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 shouting, raving, seems to say, I desire speed and height till I'm consumed, but first to meet the lunar ray. Let me swell to reach the moon, or else I'm dying right away. Oh, alarm, 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 if you'd only stop the harm and the terror and the blazing and the sparkling. Oh, that charm, let the blaze at last be cowed, that you proud proclaim with lamentation, savage clanging loud, hopeless. Naught will grant salvation from the avid conflagration, weeping fear and consternation at your call, shrieking everywhere discordant, speaking forth a peril mordant, first in muffled trouble growing, then in soul appalling fall. Ears made fearful trace the changing waves of sound without a halt, as there falls from all a sobbing at the copper called assault. Part 4. Groaning gong, the morning bell, listen well. Tones are bitter that the end of living's bitter dream can tell. Iron-tongued, the dull annunciation final rites impel. Now we quake against our will, who of fun have had our fill, for we sob as we recall. Our eyes will shut, our heart be still. Oh, unutterable gong of a note avoided long, heavy death at length to hail with a wail, grieving saddened, even while maddened, growing bolder and more deep, to intone, departed sufferers have never-ending sleep. It from rusty rounded cell will to good and wicked tell mournful tale in dullest moan. Dying eye will shut in dust, and martyred heart become a stone. Torch funereal in dark. From the tower someone cries and speaks to make the hearer hark. Someone stands at upper doors, and he's laughing, and he roars. Drone of moaning forth he pours. In the tower he'll strike a sound. Tones from swinging bell redound with a dull and rumbling boom, unrelentingly retelling of the quiet of the tomb.